what's the plan for UFO disclosure? Well, we have some comments by James Fox. We also have an update from Tim Burchett, who's got some juicy stuff that he's trying to do. And we have other news. So get in here. It's time for a UFO news roundup. This is Jack with Cosmic Road. I talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please hit like, please subscribe, please share on social media, and let me know what you think in the comments below. Okay, here we go. Here's James. James, what is the plan for UFO disclosure? Please tell us.
The distinct honor to interview Representative Andre Carson, who put on last year's congressional hearings, which were the first in over 50 years. And one of the things I asked him was, what if there's a careful review of the evidence, of the data, of the satellite images, of all the classified data, and the determination was made that some, and I have to underline the word some 100 times, some U.A.P. UFOs originate from a non-human intelligence. What's the plan to tell the public? And to my amazement, there really isn't one. So while they can't put the genie back in the bottle, I think that there is a bit of a sort of realization that if this is true, if we are dealing with a non-human intelligence, how might we disclose this to the general public? And I don't think that's really known right now.
All right, of course, it's worth noting that that is from a congressman. And, you know, I don't think Congress is really part of all of this. You know, they're having to defund the special access programs to get the control group to pony up with the information. So they don't seem to have been read into all of this, and they're trying to pry open the armor and get access to this. So, you know, I wouldn't take what, you know, Representative Carson says as gospel. I think that the control group and others have, you know, an idea of, you know, what they may have planned. There may be some sort of planned disclosure going on at the deeper levels. You know, Bob Bigelow talked to James Fox. James Fox has talked about this, and they had done studies on what would happen if there was disclosure, and Bob Bigelow was really kind of worried about that. The studies seemed to show there would be mass panic, you know, and it would be bad for society. And so he wasn't a real big proponent of disclosure for that reason. So, you know, these studies have been going on. There must be some sort of plan, and maybe the plan is not to have a plan because it would lead to panic. Maybe that's the reason for the secrecy. Who knows? But, you know, just because a congressperson said something, I wouldn't take it to the bank that that is the end of the story. In other news, the UFO topic is continuing to gain visibility in mainstream news, and that is really encouraging. Here is Senator Marco Rubio talking about UFOs on the Sean Hannity show, and that's encouraging because Tucker Carlson was the big proponent of UFOs on Fox, and after he left, you know, there was a worry that the Fox would just abandon the topic, but it looks like Sean Hannity might be picking up the torch on that, so that is encouraging whether you follow Fox or not. Let's see what Marco has to say.
On the Foreign Affairs Committee, and you're really involved in foreign affairs, there have been a lot of articles lately about UFOs. I know this question is a little out there. Is there any truth to any of this?
Well, we don't know. All I've said is we have people that have very high clearances, both today and in the past, who did really important work for our government or continue to do important work for the government, who have come forward with some claims about the U.S. having in the past recovered exotic materials and then reverse engineered those materials to make advances in our own defenses and technologies. That's the claim they make. Now, I don't know if those claims are true or not. What I do know is that one of two things is happening here. Either they're telling the truth, and that is something that obviously would be the biggest story in human history, or we have people in really important positions of government who are crazy and who are out there making up stories and who are still in positions of importance. Either one is a big problem. So we've got to figure out which one of these two it is, because the second one in particular would be very troubling. But we don't. All we know is claims that people have made. These are credible people that have done and continue to do important work for the country. And by law, we're required when they come forward as whistleblowers to take their claims seriously and to investigate them. but we just don't know. That's the answer.
Well, yeah, so it's worth noting there that Marco is not alarmed by the UAPs and UFOs. He says it would be more alarming if crazy people were in charge, crazy human people, than if there was a reality to the UFO topic. So I think that's interesting. He's not pushing a threat narrative or a fear narrative. He is, yeah, so I think that's good. As far as Hannity goes, he does say this subject is out there. So, he's signaling to his viewers that, he's not a crazy tinfoil hat wearing person. And, that's a little annoying. But, I wouldn't expect anything less of Sean Hannity. So he's a very mainstream, very staid sort of individual, very, got his blinders on as far as all that kind of stuff goes. So, that's what you get. But at least he is covering it, and that is something. Yeah, okay. Now this is exciting. Representative Tim Burchett, my U.A.P. amendment will be included in the NDAA. My amendment requires the Department of Defense to declassify any documents and records relating to publicly known sightings of UAPs that do not compromise the national security of the United States. So that's really exciting. Tim Burchett is pushing to get more UFO videos out. But what does publicly known mean? Are we talking about, just completely, restricted to the Nimitz and the Roosevelt incidents? I mean, the Roosevelt incidents by themselves probably have many, many videos and other sensor data that we could compile. I mean, the pilots from the Roosevelt were seeing these things, pretty much every day for a span of 2 years. So could we get some of that material? Is that would that fall under the definition of publicly known, since we do know these incidents happened? What does publicly known mean? I'm a little bit annoyed by the words publicly known. I want to see videos that are not publicly known. So, I hope that he refines that answer or that, that wording to include things that are not publicly known. We didn't know about the Nimitz and Roosevelt incidents at a certain point until we did. So, yeah, give us something that we haven't known, Tim. But I really appreciate, at least doing this much. Is he possibly talking about civilian sightings? I'm not quite sure what exactly publicly known means. If you have an idea, if you can explain that better to me to make me feel better about that wording, let me know. Chris Lato is impressed by this, and he's actually right here inviting Tim to be on his show. He says, "Thank you, Tim, for everything you do for transparency in government and the UAP topic. It's a tough job, and you've shown courage and leadership. I would be honored to have you on the Lato Files YouTube channel one day." Yeah, man, I'd love to see that. Hey, you can come on Cosmic Road anytime you want, Tim. Meanwhile, we have an update from Ross Coulthart about the giant UFO. Unfortunately, it's not looking good.
The continent. What more can you tell us about this?
One of the things that I've learned to respect, Joel, is there are some things in this UAP field that are being kept very secret for a good reason. The source who told me about the large craft that allegedly is being stored inside a building in a foreign country outside of the United States assured me that it was safe for me to reveal that such an object exists, but it would be extremely dangerous and compromise worthy US national security imperatives were I to reveal the location. And I know there are people out there who on social media have said I should just recklessly reveal the location. And I don't think they understand the obligations that I'm under as a journalist. I'm not a UAP activist. I really don't give a shit one way or the other what people think, frankly, if they're upset. I'm sorry to upset you, but not to be disrespectful, but the simple fact is that I'm under an enormous ethical obligation to my sources. And there are multiple corroborative sources that have told me about this. I've been able to verify the location. simple fact is I can't reveal it, and I really can't say any more. I'm sorry about that, but
Well, I totally understand, Ross. But on the, I mean, there is another side to that story, right? There's his obligations as a reporter, which I totally understand, versus transforming the world. Which is more important? Because obviously, if he revealed this, and if people found this UFO, that would be disclosure. Boom, right? That would be overnight disclosure, transforming the world. So, what is more important, one oath or transforming the world? Yes, I know that would tarnish his reputation, but he would also be Mr. Disclosure from then on. He would never have to buy a beer again. And he would be celebrated throughout the world for sacrificing his oath. So, but of course, there could be some wiggle room. He could tell Grant Cameron, and Grant Cameron could tell us. So, but I do respect Ross, and I do understand the obligations he's under. And if he is, going to honor his reporter's ethics, and, I respect him for that, as much as it galls me. And as much as I do see the other side, that it might be better for him to not honor his reporter's obligations in this instance. If a reporter could save a life, for example, by breaking his reporter's ethics, then I would think that he would be more obligated to do that, for example, than to maintain his ethics. But that is, you could say this is not saving a life. However, in a way, it might be. It would be changing the world. Yeah. In other news, I just watched the latest episode of The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch. A really bang-up episode. Yeah, go check it out. I think it's episode 11 of season 4. And they got the best evidence yet of a wormhole or a portal over the triangle area of the ranch. They did a test that demonstrates very clearly that there is an anomaly over the triangle that is bending light in a very interesting way that is creating a circular pattern on the ground and with a dark area in the middle, which hints at this overall shape of this anomaly, which could very well look like this classic wormhole sort of thing. So is that what we're dealing with? Well, we don't know. They are going to do further tests on the next episode to see if they can better determine the shape of this anomaly. But it's a bang-up episode. I know a lot of people were turned off by the Fly episode. And, hey, I get it, but I think that people were turned off by the Fly. We're kind of looking for a reason to bail. Fair weather friends, my friends. Come on. Get back in here. The water's warm. Everybody makes a mistake. They are doing really important work at Skinwalker Ranch. And I encourage people to come back to the show if you have left it, because, they're finding freaking wormholes. So, something to consider. Also, we have comments from Representative Luna. And I think that's important because she is the co-chair of the U.A.P. hearing in the House of Representatives. And she says, so what we're focusing on is, one, getting the information out to the American people. Clearly, this is a big galaxy that we live in, and that there is very likely technology that we are unaware of where it's come from. And so, does this pose a national security threat? I don't really like leaning into the threat issue, but that is what the government is supposed to do, is protect us from threats. And they do have to look at it from that point of view, unfortunately. However, I wish they wouldn't lean into that angle, because it feeds into the people on UFO Twitter and the like that are going to say, hey, they're trying to push the threat narrative. Well, no, they're not trying to push the threat narrative, but that is what they are hired to do, is to protect us from threats. And especially when this is coming from the DOD, that is literally their job, is the Department of Defense, and they do look at things through that lens. That does not mean they are pushing a threat narrative. So, I get tired of people saying that when, that is not true. That is simply their job, like it or not. I don't like it either. I wish they wouldn't lean on it. I think they should be smarter than to say this. But, it is what it is. She goes on to say it's important that instead of trying to take this conspiratorial and poo-pooing it, that people are actually understanding that it's very likely that there's other life forms out there and that we're not alone in this universe and that we can address these things with a scientific mindset. So there you go. So the co-chair of the U.A.P. Hearing in the House of Representatives, which Tim Burchett has confirmed is going to happen this month, is not dismissive of this topic at all. She's very open-minded about it. She wants to approach it from a scientific mindset. She's encouraging people to, think outside the box and realize that there are beings out there. So as much as I don't like her talking about the fear stuff, I do really respect the fact that she is pushing the idea that there are non-humans here on Earth and encouraging people to have an open mind and approach this in a scientific way. So, I don't know much about Luna, but I am encouraged by those comments. And I did want to go to end on this note. Tom DeLonge is saying aliens are real, but they come from time. I thought that was a fascinating comment. And it does dovetail very well with Lou Elizondo's comment about, he had a comment, I'll just read it. What if there were things that had the ability to experience where the present was a much bigger transition, where more elements of the future and past are experienced as the present? What if there were species out there that experienced the universe with an extra level of dimension? Is it possible that some of these UAP have the ability to, we experience them when they are right here, right now, but every other time? And he goes on to say that possibly if we experience time, if it's the cherry on a cigarette, the burning end of a cigarette, and that's how we experience time. Well, what if beings, non-human beings, have a larger cherry, and so their moment of time overlaps our moment of time? They experience time in a much different way than we do. And that's a really intriguing comment. It brings to mind studies on flies, again, that show that, possibly because of their increased metabolism, that they experience time in a radically different way than humans do. That, their lives may seem very short to us, but to them it's a full life. They fly across a room, and to us, they do that in a second. To them, that could take half a day. And compare that, for example, to trees who experience time, again, in a very different way. To them, everything is slowed down. To them, we're the fly. So different beings, even here on Earth, that we're familiar with, experience time in a very different way. So could beings experience time in a very different way? Indeed, they could. However, I don't know if that's what Tom is talking about. I think that he is talking about them coming from outside of our reality, from a place where there is no time. Or they could even be coming from the fourth dimension, the dimension of time, if you will. But I don't think that's what he's saying. I do think that he's saying they're coming from outside of this reality, which is what you get in a lot of contact experiences. When people are taken by the beings, often they are taken to a deeper level of reality. Those are the exact words of people like Whitley Strieber and Deep Prasad, and many, many others have echoed those sentiments. Often they will talk about being taken to a place where there is no time, where they don't experience time the way that we do. And that is very similar to what a lot of near-death experiencers say, which, again, you see this overlap between the metaphysical and the spiritual in the alien, if you will. So I think that maybe they're going to the same place or some similar sort of place, or at least a place outside of these three dimensions. And that is really fascinating. And I think that is what Tom DeLonge is talking about. And I think that he's on the money there. I don't think that they're all coming from outside of this reality. I think there are genuine flesh and blood non-human beings from this reality, from another planet, in our same time stream. However, some of them are coming from outside, and some of them may be coming from the past or the future. So, I think it may be all of the above, but let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And if you've enjoyed this video or gotten something out of it, please give me a big thumbs up. I sure would appreciate it. Smash the like button, smash the subscribe button, and the bell to be notified of future videos. Please share, find me on social media. I got it. And there's Facebook and Twitter links in the comments below, in the description below. So I would love it if you could share this video on social media when it drops. That would be super helpful. And there are plenty of other videos to check out on the channel. And I'll see you next time. This is Jack with the Cosmic Crew, signing out.